All right, welcome back, my friends, to a new episode of the Flow to Zen podcast. Today, we have a very special episode with my friend, Mr. Jason Cheng, a new episode in English language. Why? Because Jason is a Hong Kong-born United Kingdom citizen, so therefore English, obviously. Jason and I met during one of his jazz concerts in Da Nang in Vietnam. And in fact, Jason is not only a jazz musician, he also happens to be a serial entrepreneur, so he has a very interesting business background, and he's also a philanthropist, and he's also a father of a little baby boy. Now, that taken together, all of it, made for a pretty funny and pretty epic conversation, I believe, that we had at one Saturday night at Jason's place together with a couple of glasses of red wine and his little baby boy who really wanted to be part of this podcast. So I believe this is a pretty entertaining episode. We have a little piano break even in the middle because, as I mentioned, Jason is a musician. We spoke about spirituality, we spoke about business, we spoke about the rich and wealthy elite in Hong Kong and why they're not happy. We spoke about jazz music, we spoke about so many different things, family life, what have you. So all in all together, this podcast is as real as it gets, and I made an effort not to edit out like all these little things that make this thing so human. I found it super lovely to speak to Jason, and I hope you guys enjoy too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, well then. All right, welcome to the Flow to Zen Saturday Night Show, I would say.
Yeah.
Tonight with Mr. Jason Cheng, the one and only. I'm here in Da Nang, Vietnam, and we're sitting in Jason's piano room.
Yeah.
And we're just having a casual conversation. It's a Saturday night, we have some red wine. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah,
man.
cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Yeah. Well, no, thanks for having me.
Oh, man.
Or inviting me onto your show anyways.
Yeah, I have no idea where this is going. We will just see. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe as a quick intro. Jason and I we met in a jazz club here in Da Nang because Jason is a pianist. Jazz pianist.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, we just got along well. So that's why we're talking. Yeah. Let's just see where this takes us, man. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, good stuff.
Right. Jason, you told me you're from the UK, right? But with the roots in Hong Kong or something. Perhaps you want to introduce yourself real quick,
really,
because you know obviously more about yourself than I do.
Yeah, well, I am whatever I am.
Baby boy coming in.
Born in the UK, I think 76, and spent probably like 20 odd years there.
Right.
And then spent another 20 years in Hong Kong after that.
Uh-huh.
And the last 3-4 years, I've basically been in Da Nang.
Right.
So it's been
Vietnam.
Da Nang, Vietnam. Sorry
Right.
for people where no Da Nang is. Hong Kong's in Asia. Well,
I think we can
part of China now.
assume that people know that more or less.
And UK is actually this little island off the coast of France.
Yeah.
In case people don't know.
Yeah. UK people are usually slightly weird people, but lovely people, right?
Well, no, I don't know. Hit and miss. There's some nice people. There's some also thugs out there, but mostly nice, I'd say. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so you've been in Da Nang, and what is it that you do? Just to give the people like a slight introduction who you are. That would be quite nice.
Yeah. So well, I used to be a full-time musician, but it was just too hard to make ends meet. So
Right.
I sold out and
To corporate.
I went into sort of tech and started my own business. That was about 24 years ago.
Oh shit! 24 years ago.
Yeah. So this is what Hodford is about, actually. This is the company I started 24 years ago. So can you see that? Yeah, it's a bit of advertising there, placement ads. No.
Yes, product placements cost you dearly.
Yeah.
Cool. What is that hot for us? What do you guys do?
Well, I started off, I think 2000 years. It was kind of a web development agency because in 2000, a lot of companies didn't have websites.
Right.
Especially the small enterprises, and in Hong Kong's a big market for that. So only the big banks and the sort of big players had websites. So I thought, well, maybe I could go into that, and just started very small in my own backyard. Really, probably a room not much bigger than this is where I sort of stayed in 2000.
Wow.
Well, actually, no, it's probably about twice the size of this, but not much more. Very humble beginnings, and just started like that, and just built it up slowly but surely.
Oof. But still in the game.
Still in the game after 24 years.
24 years. Well, you have an anniversary next year then.
Yeah, 25th. Yeah, 25th. Next we're going to do some big sort of road shows around the world.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, probably some in Hong Kong and UK and maybe Japan as well. Let's see how it goes.
Woo, sweet. So where's the company based? You have like team
we've
and
got
stuff?
we've got about most of the developers are here. I think we've got about 100 odd developers now.
100 developers.
Yeah,
here
in Vietnam. Yeah.
Whoa,
I think 30% of them don't actually work in Da Nang. They're kind of.
I thought they don't actually work at all.
Well, yeah.
Focus.
They
That's obviously the boss's view, right?
They all work harder than I do, definitely. Right. Or in fact, they do more work than I do. So it's about 30%. They're all kind of scattered around Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, and Hue, different parts of Vietnam. I think about 70% are based in Da Nang.
Ooh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and of the 70% here, I think probably only 20% turn up to the office. Everyone else works from home.
Right.
So,
okay, so home office is a big thing.
Yeah, it's basically all the developers have. It's one of the first demands they make.
Right.
If you don't allow work from home, okay, they're not going to work for you.
They just want to work in their pajamas.
Yeah, they're just
wherever.
not happy. Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of become like that. So UK, we've got a branch there, and in Hong Kong as well. So yeah, basically UK, Hong Kong, and Vietnam.
Okay.
The three main, offices. Yeah.
That explains why I've seen you travel so much, right? So every once in a while or not every once in a while, but you're here in Da Nang. Sometimes you play shows here.
Shows here.
But then again, you're traveling like all over the place.
Yeah. So Hong Kong. I think last year we were in the UK, Hong Kong a few times, and just different places really. So it was great that things are open up again. COVID was a sort of a bit of a black hole, I think.
Right. Even for you web guys.
Well, no, because just no traveling. You just couldn't go anywhere. So we're sort of stuck in one location for maybe like 2-3 years.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. I mean, for people who used to traveling a lot, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
get it. Well, at least you have your music instruments here, so you can play at home.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps me sane. I mean, that's really my passion. I'd say. I mean, this is more. I still love what I do. I mean, work-wise.
Yeah.
But music is definitely a different sort of application, and kind of like different channel where I could kind of express myself, and just something that's a little bit more spiritual, something that's a little bit more connected to my soul. But I guess the work thing's not. It's not a means to an end.
Yes.
But it's just different. It's still work. I have to still deal with work things.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier you were a professional musician. Like, what did you do? Did you play the piano, or what kind of music?
Well,
did
actually,
you do?
there's no difference between being a professional and amateur. It's just that when you're a professional, you rely on it as your sole source of income.
You need to, you need to pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the hardest, I think, professions.
Musician.
Yeah, in terms of just making ends meet, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would say. The problem is because we actually enjoy what we do.
Yeah.
People sort of take it for granted. Oh, you enjoy what you do, and you don't need to get paid for it.
And you don't need to get paid for it if you love what you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the problem as well in a way, because people still need to make a living.
Absolutely, yeah.
And people see, oh, you're enjoying it so hard. So and actually, musicians do you know, say, oh, I'll do it for a nicker. I will do it for much less because, you know, obviously it's a great gig and, you know, I love working with these artists and, but, you know, they sometimes neglect the fact that, you know, they still got to pay the bills. And so we do end up with a lot of, especially in COVID, where a lot of musicians weren't working. I mean, things got pretty dire.
Right.
They were already on the sort of breadline, and with with COVID, basically nobody could work, and you know it was pretty stressful times for a lot of musicians.
Yeah. I did notice that because I have some friends in Europe and Germany who are like musicians, like producers and DJs and singers and rappers and what have you, and all of them were having a fucking tough time. Obviously, like artists rely on venues where they go to and play, and people need to pay. Obviously. It was a tough time, man. But yeah, I mean, fortunately you had your business, so you could keep the family afloat.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of kept things going, ticking along. So actually the business grew a lot during COVID because I think it's the only kind of industry that's still growing during COVID because you know everyone's just working from home.
Right.
Whereas music, yes, I mean it was definitely I don't think I did a gig for maybe like 2 years.
Whoa.
During COVID. So that was pretty insane.
Tough. Yeah, I can imagine.
But actually, I that's when I started my YouTube channel.
You have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Okay.
Oh, right. I'll send
the link over. We'll put it in the show notes.
That was during COVID because there's nothing else to do. I thought, well, maybe I could do something online.
Right.
So that's basically when it started. It was during COVID. I thought, okay, well, can't play live. Well, maybe I could play virtually.
Cool.
So that's.
So that's kind of piano stuff.
Mainly just solo piano, but since things have opened up, there's a couple of live shows here and there.
Nice.
Different musicians. Different ensembles. But I mean, most of it's kind of recorded here.
Yeah. Wow.
So maybe duets. I think that's mainly duets. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What's your name on the YouTube for the people to?
I think it's just Jason Cheng, Cheng, piano player.
Jason Cheng, piano player. There you have it. Okay, cool. That's pretty obvious. You wouldn't expect like crypto advice or something. That's good. Yeah, very good niche.
So that was it.
Marketing message is very clear. Jason Cheng, piano player. Boom. You know what you're in for when you.
There's another guy who's called Jason Cheng, but he's a singer. He's sort of he's a lot more popular than I am. I think he's got like many followers, so he always comes up like right at the top.
Really? But maybe you can get famous because of him then, a little bit.
I could piggyback off him. No, but we're quite different. I think style. He's kind of more popular stuff.
Right.
And I think he's
like the music he plays.
Yeah, more popular. I think he's probably better looking as well, which you know.
Hard to imagine. Right. So what kind of music do you like to play then, if it's not so much the popular stuff?
I'm more kind of into the sort of old school jazz, you know, the sort of stuff that is 50s, 40s, that kind of era really.
Right.
I never really moved on from there. Maybe I will eventually, but just right now it's really stuck in that kind of era.
Right.
Because I think there's a lot of stuff that was written then, just really amazing stuff. That era, even actually a lot of great songs were written in the 30s.
Right.
Lyrics were amazing. Harmonies, melodies, everything was, just so amazing. I think the 30s. Just looking at the sort of listening to lyrics, listening to melodies and the harmonies is just a brilliant era. I think.
Right.
For music, jazz music, anyways. Well, even music, across the board, really.
Okay. That's good to know. I mean, I haven't really had my focus on the 30s, 40s, or 50s so much so far. And I guess most people who are listening or watching maybe the same. Who knows? But so I think it's an interesting question to discuss also what jazz music is at the end of the day. If there is some sort of definition or some feeling that you have to explain to people who have never heard of jazz or who are not fans. I know that many people are fans of jazz, but you as a musician, what is your interpretation?
I think the problem with jazz is that the name itself has been taken over by marketing people. They want to sort of make jazz some kind of fancy pants, bourgeois, you know, some kind of music that you could sell expensive cognac with. Do you know what I mean? But actually, jazz, I think probably start with the history. Jazz really starts off as a dance music.
Oh, really?
People used to dance to it, so it was they called it Lindy hopping, and people used to dance.
Lindy hopping.
Yeah, that's the back in the day. So it was really started off as dance music. So back then, people, instead of now, you got sort of DJs and clubs and whatever. Back in the day, people would basically go to dance halls where there'd be a live band with a sort of live jazz band, and sometimes a big band, different ensembles. But it was predominantly jazz. It was always about dancing.
Right.
So it started off as dance music. I think as an art form for me, and I remember I had all these kind of very deep conversations when I was at university, or usually over several bottles of wine or beer or whatever was available, really.
Very British.
And just whatever, even God knows what, just sort of hooch. But I think we came up with this idea that jazz was basically a response, an improvised music form, that was kind of a response to the sort of environment. The reason why I say response is because it's different every time. Right. And if you're playing with different musicians, you feed off them in a different way. So that's why it's kind of like a response to something. I'm not saying there's a stimuli per se, but it's usually, in a particular environment, what you do is kind of, I wouldn't say a response, but maybe a sort of, is influenced by the environment or who you're playing with. So I think the key thing is improvise. So it's just improvise.
Right.
So
very creative, very in the moment.
Just basically it's in the moment. Everything's in the moment.
Yeah.
And every time I play different gigs, different people, it's always a different solo. Might be a different key, different sort of speed. It's all different.
Yeah, that's what I find so fascinating about jazz. I mean, obviously, I'm not like a connoisseur or something, or know a lot about jazz music. Right. I don't want to make that impression or something. But I did go to a couple of jazz clubs also in Hamburg, in my hometown in Germany, and I was like, oh wow, this is interesting music. It's very non-conceptual. It's not like the stuff that I hear on the radio, right? Yeah. And these people seem to be like, sometimes you can see jazz musicians. That's what I find so funny sometimes. They're not playing, they're just listening, and then when they pick up something, then and then they go all in, right? Yeah, that's fucking amazing. I mean, it's such an orchestra, but so created in the very moment. I found that super impressive.
No, so I mean, it's great. I think jazz, I mean, the thing is, jazz is very diverse, even within the context of jazz. There's modern jazz, there's old school jazz, and different places have different interpretations of jazz. I mean, I try not to pigeonhole too much. I just think...
What does it mean, pigeonhole?
Pigeonhole just means that I don't want to kind of categorize it too much and say this is what it is. I think it's probably easier to just say that jazz is a language.
Ooh.
And just like any other language, like English, Cantonese, Latin, whatever. So it's just a different language, and the language is spoken differently, I guess. You could use instruments to speak this language. You could, use your voice or whatever it is. Yeah. Right. So it's just a different language, I guess. Yeah. Okay. And ultimately, it's just conversation. I mean, if you think of it like that, I think it's probably easier. Yeah.
Conversation between the musicians and the singers and everyone involved in the creation.
Yeah, so in a way so let's say instead of doing this recording of us speaking, it could be a recording of us playing together. And we could have the same exchange of ideas, but, just musically.
In a different language.
Different language, not in English, I guess, yeah. I guess that's a simpler way to put it, I guess, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's fascinating. When did you come across that, or has that always been your passion, like jazz music per se?
No, I've always wanted to play, but back in England, right, I mean, things were quite kind of backwards, so we only ever learned like classical music. And my mum's a classical musician.
Oh,
And
so it runs in your blood already.
Well, yeah, it runs in the family. But she did only classical, and I've always wanted to kind of explore more of that jazz stuff, but it was just completely inaccessible. And back then, you didn't have internet, you didn't have, you know, you only had the radio, and you know that was about it, and cassette tapes, and I had no idea what to buy, or even to get, and my parents had no idea, and all the piano teachers I had were all quite kind of straight-laced, so they're all kind of classical musicians, and you know, jazz was basically some kind of esoteric art form. Oh. It was up until I think it was in high school. I went to a place called Stowe, and this piano teacher of mine, this guy called Paul Drayton, he's amazing. I didn't, and the thing is, I was kind of got a bit kind of bored of playing music, and I wanted to sort of go out there, play sports, and do other things as teenagers do. And then I remember I was singing in the choir, and he came out and he
was singing in the choir.
Yeah. I had to because I was a music scholar there, so I actually did sing in the choir, and I think for a summer term we had this summer concert where we were actually singing jazz. And my piano teacher was back. He was playing the piano, and I was just mesmerized because he was just noodling around. He was just kind of like playing different things every time, and I just thought, this is so cool. I want to play like that. And after that, I just basically, you know, hit him up like, oh, what are you meant to do? And unfortunately, that was also his last term at the school, because he was leaving after that. So, yeah, I think I only got like one or two lessons off him. And wow, I think that one lesson that he gave me, it was probably, we didn't actually do anything. He just sat down on his desk, and he wrote down a list of names. He goes, yeah, you know what? These guys are the people you want to listen to. What you should do is just listen to them and just try to play like them. Avoid the big band stuff, because you can't really hear what the piano player's doing, and they probably only play like a few little chords here and there, so you can't really, you know, but listen to more trio and solo piano stuff. And he said another good bit of advice I thought was, don't buy books, they're useless. Just
books on jazz, you mean?
Books on jazz, yeah. Right. And he just said, look, best thing to do is listen and try to transcribe what they do. And that was probably the best advice he ever gave me. The other thing, he did show me a few things on the piano, and he said, jazz is about going indirectly to something. And he'll give you a chord, and then like you just play, you know, like indirectly to it. It kind of all made sense, and you could do that from a harmonic, rhythmic, melodic kind of context. So I thought that was probably the best advice. And after that, it just got me started on this journey that's, you know, I'm still on, of just pursuing, I don't know what you call it, but just, you know, in music, you're just always on a journey, just discovering more things.
Right.
It's just kind of this journey of discovery, really, that never stops, because
never stop. Universes within universes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a common experience in whatever people can dive into, like, be it art, like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Be it painting, be it music, be it martial arts. That's more like my kind of jam. But like when you go deeply into one topic, you notice, fuck, there's so much more. And especially when you think, oh, I think I understood something.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I know nothing.
The more you discover, the more you realize you know nothing. Yeah.
This is an entire universe waiting for me. Wow, that was amazing. I can go into more depth.
Yeah,
it's fucking infinity, right?
Yeah, it is, and infinitum, which is also the. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but also it can kind of. Well, I mean, as long as you don't lose yourself, because some people can get overwhelmed. Like, oh my god, there's so much, and
yes,
and even great artists, you know, they kind of who, you know, you listen to, you go, oh my god, these guys are amazing.
Yeah,
they actually have this kind of epiphany, like, oh, I'm in the wrong industry. I know nothing. You know, it does happen a lot. They, you know, even though they're just amazing, you know, in their own right,
Right.
they kind of suddenly kind of have this awakening. They, oh, I know nothing, and they kind of go into this kind of panic mode, like, you know, what am I doing?
What the fuck? Right.
Yeah, what the fuck am I doing? I know nothing, and you know, it's just kind of weird.
I'd love to speak to that real quick because I'm right now I'm reading a book by Rick Rubin, the Creative Act, A Way of Being. Have you read
No,
that
I haven't
book?
read that. No.
Dude, fucking read it.
Okay.
It's insane.
Right.
I thought I'm reading about like art and how to be creative, but it's a outright spiritual journey. This entire thing is just such a tour de force. It's incredible.
Right.
But Rick Rubin is like Rick Rubin was recommended to me by a couple of friends of mine, and in the beginning someone told me, hey, you need to read Rick Rubin. I was like, yeah, okay, maybe creativity. I don't know if that's what I want to read.
Right.
But the name kept on popping up like around me, and at some point I'm like, if it happens once, it's interesting. If it happens twice, it's like, okay, you start to maybe there's something to it. If it happens 3 times, thrice,
right,
then I know, okay, shit, I need to go.
Okay,
I need to check him out. And in this book, this guy, he's like behind so many of the huge artists in the music industry, and he's the creative head behind it. So he doesn't write music, he doesn't play music for other people, but he's the one teaching people how to be creative. And that's basically, it's a spiritual journey, right?
Right.
And in this book, it's just wisdom after wisdom after wisdom. But one thing that I read in this book that struck me quite a bit was that he knows many artists that are like super fucking successful, right? Like world-class artists.
Yeah.
And these people, every once in a while, they release an album, is the most successful album ever, and they're like,
they hate it.
I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. What the fuck am I doing? I'm gonna quit making music now.
Yeah.
And he says that's such a common thread in artists. The better they get, at some point they're like, what the fuck am I doing, man?
Yeah, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah, I know nothing. And
like so much self-doubt. And I just want to speak to that or talk to you about that, because the industry that I work in, like coaching or mentoring or whatever, like working with people and trying to uncover what is inside that keeps holding you back from being just happy, man. At the end of the day, everyone just wants to be happy. Why are people not happy? And like so often the answer is just, okay, self-doubt, not believing in yourself, not trusting yourself. Right. But then again, even the most successful people seem to have that. I didn't know that.
I think happiness and that self-doubt and a sort of creative sense, well, slightly different things. I mean, I guess there's happiness, contentment. I don't know. I mean, that's a sort of slightly different topic, really. I think I'm happy, generally. As long as I don't get woken up in the morning.
All right. That's how to mess up your
that's
day.
hard. Yeah, it's hard with the baby. I think happiness is about being able to fulfill what you set out to do, really. I mean, in a way, kind of contentment. I guess success is about that, right, in a way. Because everyone's definition of success is slightly different.
Ooh, that is such an important point. Such an important point.
My definition could just be like, if I'm able to, do this, then I'm happy. Or if I'm able to help so many people, then if I'm happy with this. And I think it's all. I think that's everyone's yardstick's slightly different. And I think people whose yardsticks are kind of material, I think that's it usually leads to disappointment. I found that quite a lot, and I found with a lot of people I've known, especially in Hong Kong, very, very rich, but they're actually not happy. They're actually
surprise, right?
surprise. They're actually they're probably the most unhappy people you meet, because they're scared that somebody would take their money.
Right.
And everything, and all the decision-making processes are driven by fear. Fear of loss.
Right.
Rather than something that's inspired. Like, I want to do this. How about I do this? And it's quite interesting. And in Hong Kong's this very kind of weird microcosm where you meet a lot of these people who are extremely rich.
Right.
But they're also, they have big egos and all that. But actually, if you kind of dig a little bit deeper, a lot of them are very unhappy about their lives, and they're unhappy that, in fact, somebody else has got even more than them.
Shit.
And that's
I'm a millionaire. He has 2 million.
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I'm not happy about this. And then,
I'm not happy
how
about
do I
this.
become like this person? And it's just becomes this rat race. And it's so one of the reasons I left Hong Kong was I just got tired of that. Because everything's judged by money. Everything's governed by money. Everyone, I find it's one of those cities that lacks that, that spiritual creativity. It's a bit lacking. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a fun place to go to, but if you live there for long enough, you kind of realise that it's a little bit too much, kind of that whole capitalistic kind of thing. Right. And if anyone's watched Game of Thrones, it's like that city Karth.
Oh, which one is that?
It's
again?
basically so one of the episodes in the beginning, I think first or second season, where they end up, it's like they walk through the desert and they end up at this kind of oasis, and the city's called Karth, and all the people there are all about money.
Oh,
like this guy built this big safe, and he got the most incredible locksmith to create this lock that nobody could possibly kind of break into, the lockpick.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I put all my fortunes into everything, and it basically, I think somebody cracked into it and it was empty. But when he walks around, he's got these like gold chains or whatever, medallions, and
Oh man, that is so interesting. That is so interesting. Yeah, I've been to Hong Kong as well. That was many years ago, maybe 2018 or so. Only once. I like the vibe of like this. It's interesting to see also different metropolitan cities in Asia as a European, because in Europe we have these, mostly old cities, right? They have been there for fucking ages, right? You have these old buildings. In Germany, not so many, because everything got bombed to pieces after we declared war on the entire world. But anyway, it's a different topic. But when you go to Asia, you can see in the different metropolitan areas like Hong Kong or Singapore or Tokyo or Shenzhen or whatever, you can see like which generation of Asian boom this is, right?
Yeah, so Hong Kong's very much the 80s, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 80s, man. Fucking 80s. It's like 60s, and a little 70s music and Bruce Lee. Waka!
I mean, that was kind of like the golden era for Hong Kong. I think, where everything was open and people were very positive about life. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of gone. I think now the sort of market's a bit saturated, and all the big industries are stitched up. So I think for the young people, it's I mean, without going into politics, they feel a bit disenfranchised. I think there's basically no upward mobility or, social mobility for the young people, or any means for them to lift the game.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing in Hong Kong.
I want to speak to something again that you just mentioned. That was the point before. You said that this place that is so extremely successful on a capitalistic scale, like everyone's making shit tons of money and everyone's just comparing their wealth with their neighbor's wealth, and they're like, hey, I'm so rich, right?
Yeah.
And still utterly miserable. And you said in this place that is so materialistic, like something spiritual creativity is lacking, right? Which is very interesting, because I have the impression that obviously we need economics, we need economy and trade and money, and we need all these things to make
the world
our transactions that we, right, to make ends meet in our lifetime, right, to meet our physical needs basically, and a little beyond. But then the more we commoditize and commercialize stuff, the more something gets lost. That's what my experience is, and that's this thing that we could call soul or connection, or something that is we could call divine. All of this is gone when everything is about the money. But when you remove it and you go back to the very base, like native tribes, for example, people who live like in a very traditional way, you can feel a lot of that, right? Like a lot of this spirituality, connection to nature, the elements, the universe, God, whatever.
Right.
But the more we go into this super materialistic thing, it just gets lost.
And
also the creativity gets lost.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's really about striking a balance and finding a balance for yourself.
Yo.
It's something you can't do without. But definitely, you don't want to make your life about, creating more wealth. It's really about making, enough to make ends meet and to be able to allow you to do what you need to do.
Right.
I mean, I always have this analogy, like money is kind of like petrol. You just need, and you just need to have enough petrol in the car to get you from A to B.
To the next gas station.
To the next, petrol station or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to stockpile like, gazillions of gallons of barrels of, oil somewhere. Do you know what I mean? It's really about, but you still need that petrol in the tank to get you from A to B. So
absolutely,
you still need that.
Absolutely.
But don't make that, you don't need more than a tank. You need, you don't want to make your whole life about making barrel loads and a whole refinery of petrol, basically.
Totally. No, I agree. I mean, I look at the topic from two different perspectives, because in my past life, which is this life, but just earlier,
right.
I'm a trained economist, right? So I've looked at money from a philosophical perspective also. And I've always learned, like, what is money, right? Okay, it's a means of exchange. I want to exchange something. Obviously, we live in an economy. Everyone has their specialization, right? If you're a musician and I cut hair, and this guy sells shoes, and this one raises cattle, right? Now, the one who raises cattle needs a haircut. Yeah. What does he do? He cannot just cut the fucking cow into pieces and say, hey, I give you half a cow leg and you give me a haircut, right? He needs to exchange it for something that can be money, and then that money can be exchanged for a haircut. That's how this economy starts to work, where everyone does different things and one thing is not comparable to the other, right? So it's a means of exchange, and it's a means of storing value, right? So I need to trust that tomorrow what I have here in my bank account is worth the same thing, more or less, that it is what it is today. That's why inflation is so terrible, right?
Yeah.
So if today you can buy a car and tomorrow you can buy a loaf of bread, you're like, fuck, man, I worked 30 fucking years for this shit.
This better be the best loaf of bread I've ever had.
Yeah, exactly. Peanut. Yeah. So these are obviously the considerations of an economist. There's a couple of more things, but then from a different perspective, like spirituality. And looking at life, and I asked myself the question. I noticed that when I was reflecting on last year, pretty much, because at the end of the year I always do like a year-end reflection. Right. And I look at my entire year. Look at what has happened in my last year. What do I learn from this? Do I need to correct course somewhere? Am I on track? Am I happy? What's going on in my life? And then I remembered something from my early childhood, that when I was a little child, I always used to ask myself, what is the meaning of life? And I was utterly disappointed because I couldn't find an answer when I was a kid. I was like, I have no idea. And whoever I ask, the replies that I get, there's just shit, man. It's shitty.
Forget about teachers. They'll answer like, they'll give you some non-answer.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Some Zen answer. No, but the point that I wanted to
They'll
make...
be like, Doja, you know what? You shouldn't be thinking about these deep questions.
Or you should just make money. Just make fucking money.
or just study well and pass your exams.
Right.
Just do your homework. Or something really stupid like that.
But at the end of the day, it's a good approach, because you go stepwise, right? You start with the very foundation and you build it up from there.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, what I just wanted to refer to is that when you go deeper into this, at some point you ask yourself the question, okay, who am I? Where am I coming from? Where do I go once this thing is over, right?
Right.
And then you come at some point to the conclusion, it doesn't matter how much I have, if I'm like a fucking billionaire or something when I die.
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day,
with you,
I have to die. Seriously, everyone has to die.
Yeah.
And you cannot take it with you. That's the problem, right? You cannot transfer it into the next dimension or whatever there is. But I think you're totally right. That doesn't mean we have to neglect money or wealth in this dimension, because we need to get by, we need to sustain our families and have to get from A to B. But that's what it is. But I think it comes down to the most important of all questions, or one of the most important of all questions, which is, how much is enough?
Well,
that's a difficult one too.
No, but I think how much depends on the person.
Yep.
Depends on what they need and what they do. So if I have a family of 10 kids, then I'll probably need a little bit more than somebody who's only got one kid.
Right.
And it depends on, I guess, I mean, yeah, for yourself, it's a difficult question. And it's kind of like, how long's a piece of string, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on your lifestyle as well. I mean, so we're drinking wine. I drink a lot, so I might
You
need
drink a lot. Again, very British, isn't it?
yeah. So I might need a little bit more.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like a sort of 5-liter engine,
Oh, shit. Yeah.
But also, like, it depends on your purpose, So, I mean, one of the things that I need to be doing more is like more. I hate to use the word charity, but I need to be doing more kind of community stuff, where I'm kind of giving back to society, where I'm doing my community stuff. So just random stuff like. We take interns in our business, or in fact, recently, I mean, it's just little things. We kind of donate milk to kids, orphanages, and stuff like that. And so something I want to do more of that.
Yeah. Why do you need to do that? You mentioned you need to.
I don't know. I just feel like I just feel that's my purpose, really.
To give back.
Yeah, to give back.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't need to, but I just feel I do. Like, so some people need to make another million.
Yeah.
I go, why do you need to make it? Well, just do.
Yeah.
Same. I guess the same kind of answer. I just do. I think I'm not doing enough of it though. I must say.
Okay. Well then, here's your moment to decide. It's awesome. I mean, I love that. Nobody needs to or has to. There's no moral obligation in that sense. But I mean, I think if we have the means, if we have surplus, then that's a great thing to do. I just recently completed my second 10-day Vipassana retreat. I did it in Ho Chi Minh City, so it's like 10 days of silent meditation and stuff. You just sit for 10 hours a day and try to meditate, try to calm this fucker. It's pretty damn tough, right?
Yeah.
But like a couple of days, and the thing is, you don't have to pay for it. It's like you go there, it's completely free. And then at the end of the day, they tell you, or at the end of the course, they tell you, look, this is all made possible through donations of people who found great value in this type of meditation. So if you want, and we encourage you to do so, please give something so other people can also benefit from this teaching.
Right.
And I mean, it all comes down to the Buddha who gave this this meditation technique to the people. And he had like a catalog of. Well, his main teaching was if you don't want to get too deep into spirituality, there are 3 things you should work on, right? Shila, Samadhi, and Panya. That's how he called it. Shila is like morality. You should live a moral life, more or less, because otherwise your mind will be upset all the friggin' time, right? It's very hard to calm down and meditate, which is the second. Samadhi is you need to tame this thing. Otherwise, you're just gonna get yourself into trouble and into suffering and misery again and again and again if you don't know how this thing works. And the third is wisdom or insight that comes out of meditation. So he says basically, at the end of the day, you want wisdom and insight. To get there, you need to meditate. But in order to be able to meditate, you should live a moral life, because otherwise it's very hard. You kill someone and then his family is running after you. It's very hard for you to meditate under a tree, right? Because people are like, oh, Jason, we want to kill you. So no, what I want to say is that he said morality is an important part of the entire path, and one part of morality is dana, which is generosity. So if you have something, give it to people who need it, right? So that's just basic act of love and compassion. If you do have something, if you have not anything.
Well, dana, that's Japanese, right?
It's Pali. It's
really?
Yeah. It's a ancient Indian language, the language that the Buddha spoke.
Right.
But maybe it's the same term in Japan.
Well, no, I think. Well, I remember reading this book. I can't remember. It's like I can't remember something about the geisha. Do you remember? It's quite a famous.
The geisha,
book.
yeah.
The geisha, yeah.
I think
and it's called a dana.
Movies.
It was like so. Whoever's the patron was called a dana.
Oh, okay.
Yes, quite yes. I don't know where that's.
I'm so generous. I gift you this. This woman, geisha.
No, exactly. Well, I kind of, just keep this. Well, just keep this lady, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, that's a different wine. I'll give up. Is it?
Oh shit!
Okay?
No, wait.
Yeah,
Let me
might
finish
drink
this
that
one
first. Yeah.
We should. By the way, we should have some water here.
Water as well. Yeah, we'll do that next time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. What did you want to say?
Nothing really. I was just going to pour you another drink.
All right. Well then, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Saturday nights, man. Yeah, these days I barely drink anymore, but every once in a while,
Right.
I quite enjoy, especially over a good conversation, glass of red wine. Pretty good.
Yeah,
good
that's
life. Good life.
Yeah. That's great. What we're going to talk about, I think what brought us together was that we kind of we're just talking at I think the place called Kong 72.
Yeah.
Opened by my friend Tim, and it has live music. I think most nights of the week.
Right.
And I think we just kind of just talked about some random things. I don't know what was it. I mean, you kind of we somehow talked and.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, you were already always like a very engaging musician. That's what made me want to talk to you, right? Because you were really engaging with the people in the audience. You were like asking questions, demanding more wine, or
whatever it was. Yeah,
play a little solo, and that was just funny. So we started chatting at some point, and I don't know, you spoke about some interesting things, because I'm like interested in spirituality, meditation, all these things, blah blah. But that one night in Kong, you told me that this time, okay, you're a dad, you have a baby boy, and you play music, you play jazz. You're also a business person, you're a businessman. But in a past life, something else may have been your profession or something. You told me about something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the monk,
psychic
the monk,
or something told you, right?
Yes, it's very weird. I mean, I think I said the late '90s. My dad, I don't know why, but I think it was just pre-Christmas, and we were in this mall, and we went to this, it's like a soothsayer. I mean, they call it basically. In English, we call it a soothsayer. It's basically a psychic.
A psychic.
And it's basically a shopping mall. I think it's like Ealing or somewhere, Ealing Broadway. Anyways, we went in there, and this lady it was amazing. I mean, she actually could tell a lot of things. I was quite impressed. I mean, she'd be able to tell you facts. It wasn't just random things. It was just like, oh, and if she would just look at my one, like what my middle finger, just go like this. You go, oh. Mm-hmm. So you got one brother, Aries birthday, and I'm going like, okay, so because I'm usually quite skeptical about things, and
right.
I'm going like, you cannot know this level of detail without something, because I've never met her.
Right.
I mean, how could she tell me like this and all this kind of detail? I mean, that was just something that I picked up. I was like, you got one brother, Aries birthday. I'm going like, okay, so. It could be random, but the chances are, pretty low. And basically, everything she said was pretty much spot on.
Whoa, yeah.
And one of the things she told me was like, oh, I see in your past life you're a monk. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then she goes, but, you actually, in your past life, you spend probably all this time pursuing like a spiritual existence. But you never really acted upon it. It didn't manifest in any kind of useful thing for the world. It was just about you.
Oh.
So it was a very interesting thing. And she goes, so in this life, it's actually a continuation of that. But you've gone like, okay, now I've actually got to implement all those, sort of manifestos and, the sort of preachings that I went through in my previous life and in this life, and she basically said that your whole life is about helping others and giving back, and that is your raison. That basically said that's your purpose on this life. On this, yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting. Yeah.
Did that resonate with you?
I think that's true. Even my work, my music, everything. It's very much just helping others. Connect dots, help people to do things. Very much. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Nice.
But I think I need to be doing more. I think I'm not doing enough. I would say. But yeah, I think all in good time. I think it will happen eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's within you, if you feel the desire, the wish. like the
Yeah,
genuine,
I think
genuine
there
wish
is.
to do it.
Yeah, I think one thing that, the spirituality and I think I know what she's saying, because there's all these books now, right? And I've read a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the self,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the self, which I get.
Mm-hmm.
It is about the self, but also it's about others. Once I guess there's the outer and the inner, but it's all about others people as well, in the way that, hey, you've helped yourself, but how about that poor sod over there?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Or, who was not born into privilege, and they had a pretty they're born into circumstances that are a bit harsh, and they've got to struggle to live and to feed themselves. I believe, yes, self is good, but hold on, there's also others. Do you know what I mean? Which we need to also try to help if we can.
Yeah, that's very beautiful.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Because I believe at the end of the day, at the end of the spiritual journey is probably, I don't know for sure, because obviously not at the end, but I've had glimpses of what it may be about. And I feel like at the end is probably the inside, that the self and the other is there's no difference at the end of the day. At the very end of the day.
Right.
So if we look at the world and see it as a great mirror of ourselves, then we see in all the different reflections, we see aspects of ourselves, right? Again and again and again. And it's ingrained in so many ancient spiritual traditions also. Like the Indian Namaste, for example, it means the divine in me recognizes the divine in you and bows before you, which is me. And the ancient Mayans in Mexico and Guatemala and so on in Latin America, they had a beautiful way of greeting one another, like Inlak Esh Alakin, which means I am another you. Like this is such a beautiful way of looking at people around you and treating and greeting them. And I think in all these traditions is the same understanding. Hey, this is one thing at the end of the day, but it's very hard to understand, obviously, because we live in a world of duality and polarity, and we see I'm different from you and you're different from me and blah, blah, blah. But probably one way of getting there, of getting this understanding is like really walking the talk, supporting other people, other beings on their path, and giving them what they need, and like lower their suffering and help them better.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, I guess, you could say that, because if I am you, then I wouldn't want, see you, I don't want that to happen to me, so I don't want it to happen to you. So I do this. So in a way, it is kind of like what you're saying. It is, you are me, because I'm empathetic.
Right.
Completely. I know how you feel.
Right.
And it's like I feel the same thing. So therefore, I want to rectify that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never thought about this, but in a way, it is, because if I believe in empathy. I think empathy is one of the most important things.
Yeah.
If you actually feel what somebody else feels,
right,
then you would do the same thing as if it was yourself.
Exactly.
And actually, so in a way, what I'm doing is like just actually helping myself in a way.
Yeah, or
in a way, because I feel like this, I see these kids and all being fed, and I feel that's actually, I feel the same pain.
Right.
Then I'll go, hold on, I need to, do you know what I mean? So actually, that's quite an interesting kind of idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah. It's great, Jason, because I mean, like all the great ancient traditions, spiritual traditions, and some of them turned into religions once they got institutionalized, but they all have the same idea and the same kind of moral code or moral conduct at the end of the day. And all of them say the same thing: I do unto others as you want them to do to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way of expressing it in English.
Don't do unto others what you don't want others to do to you. Whatever it is as well,
whatever it is. But like it's a reflection, right? And in Buddhism, it's very clear. Like sometimes people ask the question, "Oh, what is right? What is wrong?" In Buddhism, it's very simple. They say, okay,
If you don't want somebody to do this to you, don't do it to others. If you don't mind people doing this to you, do it. That's okay.
Exactly.
That's my moxie as well. Definitely.
And that pretty much hits a nail on the head, I would say, because in Buddhism, the Buddha said, look, it's very simple. Whatever creates happiness and well-being for other beings, that is right. That is the law of the universe. Whatever creates suffering in other beings,
don't do it.
That is wrong. Don't do it. And that's very simple. And he doesn't even say do it because it's the right thing. He says just it's the law of nature. So if you do that, you will create more of that for yourself also.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I love that idea. But the problem is, I've run into problems with that.
Like what?
So, for instance, if I call somebody certain things, which I don't mind people calling me because I'm quite thick-skinned.
Give us an example.
I can't remember.
A very British example.
I called him like, all right, you. I don't know. I said, oh, you. I'm just having a sort of jovial kind of just stab at people, you know, like just you. But some people are quite thin-skinned. I can't remember the example. I can't remember exactly what happened. But it was like, oh, you complete twat or whatever. And then actually, he was a twat. But if somebody said that to me...
You were just speaking the truth.
If somebody said that to me, I go, okay, guilty as charged. But some people get really offended by little things.
Right.
Which I wouldn't get offended by. So sometimes that doesn't always work. Yeah, sorry, actually I remember now. There's a musician I work with. He's a guitar player. And I always used to tease him. Just say really stupid things like, just whatever. I thought it was a joke because I thought that, because I wouldn't mind somebody else saying that to me, but he got really offended. So it doesn't always work. As much as I like to think it does, but it doesn't.
Well,
that's his problem, right?
That's his problem. Well, that's not against the dharma of any spiritual system. It's just a matter of, it's just a misunderstanding in communication. Probably triggering some stuff that is somewhere deeply ingrained in himself, right? Bringing up memories, whatever. And you have different memories, so you react differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, we do our best. Right?
Yeah.
But sometimes even when we have good intentions, we fuck things up.
Well, it wasn't great intentions. I just thought like...
You just wanted to call him a fucking twat.
Oh, no, I didn't say a twat, but it was something kind of... It wasn't kind of... It wasn't even... It was maybe slightly derogatory, but I wouldn't mind people saying that to me because obviously, look, I'm not perfect and occasionally I can be sort of out of character, whatever, but some people can get offended, I think. I don't know whether this is kind of, it's this world of everyone gets, offended by the smallest thing.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I believe, or that's my observation, that most of the conflicts in the world are simply created through misunderstanding. So it's just a matter of communication, because the way you send something is never the way I receive it. Because you have your set of filters. It's like running around with sunglasses and you have like blue shades and I have yellow shades. And you're like, hey, this is an amazing blue wine. I'm like, no, it's such an amazing yellow wine, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Like all this.
I think it's, I don't know. I think the world's problems is not to do with communication. I think the world's problems is to do with command of resource. It's all about power, I think.
That's the outer manifestation, yes.
And when what you do is going to encroach on my power base, then I will probably defend to my death that. And it's all about power and it's all about ego. And I think that's one of the problems. I think ego is one of the worst things, actually. In music.
In music, that is a nice way back now.
It is really, because the ego is one of the. It's something we all have, but it's one of the things that I think really gets in the way. In music, in business, and in everything, in a way that the fact that you want to shine, you want to be the number one, the head poncho. It's actually, whatever you call it, but. Yeah. It's just, to me, actually really gets in the way of progress. It gets in the way of everything. And I remember I was in New York and the week before that, I was on a cruise ship. and it was a jazz cruise ship, and I was listening. It was about 200 like bands, different bands playing like for a whole week solid, like different stages, different places. So every single minute there'll be like 10 bands playing in different places on this cruise ship for like a whole week. So it was insane amount of music, and these guys were top. These guys were world class kind of musicians.
Right.
Like, you know, they're kind of touring the world, and this one guy's like, you know, just done a world tour or whatever. He's just and for them, this one little jazz cruise was an opportunity for all the musicians to catch up with each other. And for us, we were just kind of enjoying it, and I thought, oh, this is great. And a week after, I was in New York. I went to a jam session, and I was thinking, you know, these guys, you've got like, I don't know how many alto sax players, they're all kind of blowing away. They're all incredible in what they do, and, you know, their execution's immaculate, intonation's immaculate, everything's immaculate. But why are they still doing these jam sessions and they're not doing the world tours? It was for me, like, it was a really interesting thing, because those guys playing in these jam sessions all about themselves. Like, look what I can do. And they're all like proficient and like amazing, virtuoso. But the guys who are doing the tours, they're thinking, how do I make this whole band sound good?
Ooh,
how do I make the overall presentation of this music better? And forget about me. I'm not thinking about how do I sound good. I'm thinking, how do I make everyone else sound better? And to me, and musically, those guys at jam sessions are probably technically even better.
Right.
But they're not. They're nowhere. Why? Because they're thinking about themselves. It's about the ego.
Ooh.
But the guys who are doing the tours, they're thinking about the band. They're thinking about the music. They're thinking about, oh, what do you think the audience? You know, they're thinking like, how will people receive this, or how can I make the music sound better? And how can I make the singer sound better? You know, I'm listening to that singer, you know, him or her, like, oh, what can I do to compliment them? Those are the guys who are doing the world tours.
Wow.
And I just love that. And it was kind of like a moment of clarity. I just saw that, because these guys were just blowing away. You could have beamed up this bass player. The bass player could have just beamed, you know, like, you could just executed the bass player and just replaced it with a backing track, and the guy wouldn't even notice, because he would just be like blowing away, and it would be like in his little kind of universe, you know.
In his own ego bubble, kind of.
In his own. So his universe is about himself, but
right.
I think the real musicians, their universe is about all the people in the band and the audience and everything else. Do you know what I mean? So it was quite. I mean, I thought it was. Just because I was watching that just afar, and it really kind of hit home. I thought, my God, okay, that is interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was kind of like pennies finally dropped. You know.
That's so beautiful, man. Yeah. Right. So, yeah. So the one person, his entire universe is just himself, and for the other one, the universe is like everyone else plus himself, like the interplay, the orchestra and plus the audience.
He was actually, and it kind of goes
That's
back,
great
ties
art.
in about the self and you. He's all about empathizing with everyone else in the band.
Yes.
So he's thinking, you, what would you like me to play to make you sound, or to make you feel more comfortable?
Right.
If everyone's doing that, just imagine how powerful that is. And then, whereas the jam session, everyone's thinking, how do I make myself sound better?
Right.
And
this is my solo now.
It's kind of like sports where you play in a team. Like, it's not about the person who scores the goals. It's like, you know, you pass it, and how do we work as a team to make the whole team stronger? Do you know what I mean? It ties in with everything, I think.
Could that be the ulterior or ultimate purpose of music and art in that sense? Like, on the one hand, it's obviously self-expression, which is a beautiful thing to witness. If I witness a great artist self-expressing, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, right? But then taking it to the next step, not only expressing yourself, but blending in with everyone around you and making everyone sound better. That now it's a great orchestra, right? Now it becomes great intelligence. Now it becomes
the greater kind of good, yeah.
And now something is, I mean, when an artist is great, it seems almost as if something is flowing through that person, right? This stuff doesn't come from that person, even though I believe many artists identify with that and say, oh, this is me, I produce this. But actually it's coming inspiration. The word inspiration means in spiritus, means like in spirit. Something is downloaded through you.
Something plays you.
Something plays you. Exactly. That's what many people say who are like very inspired or like great artists, right?
I think the great artists were actually, I think my best moments, basically, my mind's completely switched off. I think the most important thing is, I think the moment you think, that's when everything just goes completely pear-shaped. Never think. To really play well, anyways, I would say my best moments are always like in the moment, and actually the music plays me. So I'm just reacting to the music, or something's playing me, and I'm just merely a conduit.
The channel.
I'm the channel,
conduit,
the conduit through which this energy flows, and then it's just whatever it is, but definitely not. It's not coming from my mind, and I actually think some of the musicians I work with who, like especially drummers, they slow down, they kind of put in the feel, and all I say is just don't think. Stop thinking. You're thinking too much. The moment you do that, you slow down and you screw up. Just be in the moment. Just be. Don't do anything else. Just be in the moment.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? I hear so I mean, for me, like, it's just all about the moment and just being there and just connecting with whatever sort of forces they are.
Right. See, that's exactly why I wanted to talk to you.
Really? Okay.
Jason.
Yeah.
Because I thought that like what you do, what I do has so much in common.
Right.
Like so much in common. There's different methods in that sense. Like when I sit down and meditate, or when I practice a certain martial art form for the 10,000th of times or whatever.
Right.
But the goal is the exact same: to shut this thing off, or like to tame it in such a way that you don't think, you only be in that very moment, and then something seems to connect. Like it's like a radio dial, and some boom message signal coming through, right, and becoming a conduit for whatever wants to flow through.
Right. Okay.
But as a musician, I think you have probably every creative person. Doesn't even matter what it is.
I think it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's
just different languages. Different languages.
Yeah, different output. Different. Yeah. So it's the same source.
Yes.
So you might express in this way.
Yeah.
I might express in this way, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's the same source. It's the same kind of creative source, I think. And I think it's not from. I don't know where it's from. Actually. I mean, I wouldn't dare to even sort of think about that. Yeah.
Probably doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter. But the fact is, I believe that, or we feel that there is something. There is something, and that stuff is somehow flowing through us. Yeah. Especially when we can get out of our own ways, which is usually this thing, right?
The mind is always it always slows you down. I think. I find, but the only thing is, this is one thing that I've always kind of thought about is like, why do we actually have a mind if it's always slowing you down?
Probably to understand at the end of the day.
Well, I think. I know there's all the spiritualities that always switch the mind off, but I do believe that the fact that we have a mind is probably means that we actually need to use it. And I think that
agreed.
The mind does have its place, in sort of analysing things and science and coming out with inventions. You do need to think about things, I think, sometimes.
Yep.
So I don't think it's all bad, but I think for anything that's creative, the mind's not a good thing.
Totally agree. And I think it's the same thing for the ego, by the way.
Yeah.
So obviously, we have mind. I mean, there's this law in evolution. No species gets endowed with stuff that it doesn't need for survival. So
Yeah, yeah.
whatever an animal or any being can do, it's useful.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
otherwise it wouldn't be there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we have mind because we need it. And as a matter of fact, from Buddha's point of view, everything is mind at the end of the day anyway. But yeah, for the creative process, mind and thinking may not be so useful. But I believe is critical to understanding at the end of the day. But what I also believe is that mind is, I think it's even called that way in many texts. They said mind is a great tool, a great servant, but a very bad master. So if you make the mind the master of the orchestra, it just doesn't work.
Right.
But if it becomes a tool and you feel and you simply are and you be in your being in the moment, and then you use mind to understand and also to do a little, tweak a little here,
Right,
tweak a little there,
okay.
use it as a tool, then it's incredibly powerful. But
Right.
like in Tibetan Buddhism, they always say the mind is like this huge elephant, but it's almost like a drunk elephant or a drunk bull or something.
Right.
Super powerful, but fucking insane, right?
Right. It's
It's
you
just,
can't- yeah.
So once you tame it, it can just lie there and just be there, and whenever you need it, it comes up and it does the work for you, whatever work needs to
Right.
be done. And I
Very
guess
interesting.
And I guess the ego somehow similar, because the ego and the mind are so interconnected anyway. Because ego and mind, they identify themselves, right, or with one another. But ego is utterly necessary for survival. If you didn't have ego, you would just jump off the next cliff to see if you
Yeah.
can meet God and fly, because everything
Well,
is one.
yeah, I
or
think
whatever.
ego. I mean, ego has its place, I guess.
Exactly, it does. It does.
But I think the problem nowadays is that it's like a lot of people have egos that actually are kind of redundant, you know. And I think a lot
You
of
have a redundant ego, my friend.
well, no, I think a lot of the times ego should be used in a kind of positive way to help others and whatever. But I think right now we see it being channeled in a wrong way with a lot of the sort of leaders, dictators around the world, and
Always been like
you know,
that, I guess.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's always been like that. I think now it's just kind of like right now it's quite a, you know, I mean, globally it's quite strained, I think, in many ways. So that kind of, I mean, yeah. So, but yeah, definitely. I think if people could get rid of those egos, sometimes I think the world would be a lot more peaceful.
Yeah, probably would be. Probably would be. But maybe one way to set the ego and the thinking mind aside a little bit and share this with people and show them how to get into that process, maybe music, right? For example.
Yeah, just kind of neutralize all the sort of, you know, just take out all the hard edges, I guess, you know, yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, that music and notes can be translated into numbers, or frequencies can be
Right.
translated into mathematical code, and any number can be translated into form, geometry, can be translated into a color. You know, like all these things, like colors and forms and mathematics and sound, like basically all the sense organs stuff.
Yeah.
It's just permutations or like, you
Right,
know, like
yeah.
just different representations of one
Different
and the same
senses,
thing.
yeah.
One and the same thing. And I think it's very valuable for people to find out what is your main sense, like how do you operate, how do you perceive the
Yeah.
world. And I believe for you, it's probably the auditory sense is quite strong, right? And that's why you have this inclination to music.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, music's great. I mean, it's it's amazing just to be able to play with different musicians. And I remember I was in Tokyo once, and I couldn't speak any Japanese.
Do you speak now?
No, I can't speak any Japanese.
Still can't speak any Japanese.
But I went down to this jam session. It was in this basement of this this jazz club in the basement.
Yeah.
And I just remember like just jamming with these musicians, and I couldn't speak to this drummer, but the moment the moment we started playing, I looked at him, he looked at me, we're locked in.
Whoa.
And it was just like, this is amazing. I knew exactly where he was. We're just completely locked in. You know,
That's magical.
musically,
Yeah.
we're like completely like having a great conversation, but off stage, I couldn't speak to him at all. I couldn't understand anything. But on stage, we were just like connected. It was just brilliant.
Right.
You know, he was just right on top, and it's like, you know, I knew exactly where he felt the beat, and it was almost like we're completely synchronized.
Right.
It was magic.
Absolutely.
It was brilliant, and we did I don't know how many songs we did, but it was just brilliant. I just remember it was, amazing, amazing experience.
And this type of connection that is beyond mind and just talking is something extremely special, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, we all feel like, what the fuck's happening? Wow, this is amazing. Let's go deeper into this.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's the same. Like I'm right now. I'm just thinking about football, about soccer, right?
Right.
Same thing when you see like people who are like extremely good at what they do, and they can shut the mind off and they just play, and somehow like a harmony appears out of nowhere, and they just play these intricate plays. Like, this is fucking genius what you guys are doing, and he just tips the ball like this, boom, and it goes like perfectly onto the head of the next player, boom, goal. Whoa.
Actually, I think sports is actually also very similar to music.
Yeah.
It's about the teamwork. It's about not having the ego, and it's about really just being in the moment. I think with the top sports people, you know, their mind, they don't think. I mean, their mind was thinking. I mean, maybe when they're training, they were thinking like how to, you know, whatever it is, how to strike the ball harder or better, more accuracy. But when they're actually on a live show or basically like a live game, it's basically all gloves are off. Be in the moment. Don't think. Just be there.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
And I believe, or that's my observation from now, my experience, that this is really what all things that we can do when people start to tap into mastery. This is exactly that. And Miyamoto Musashi is like a famous samurai sword fighter from medieval Japan, right? He said, once you, I dropped this quote before, but really stuck with me. He was like, once you start to understand the way, you see it in everything. So basically, it doesn't matter whether someone is painting or making music, playing sports, doing martial arts, cooking, whatever. Everything can be what the Chinese call kung fu, right? You can just practice, and somehow perfection arises out of the very moment when you don't think. It's just boom, it's just there, and you just devote yourself to being so focused and becoming so one with whatever activity that is that you're doing. Free climbers without any ropes, climbing fucking walls like this, right? Or free divers, like going into the abyss without any oxygen, just completely immersing themselves, completely becoming one with whatever it is that you do, or be it sexual intercourse, for example, for tantra people, whatever. Just completely get lost in the moment. Completely, boom, you become one with whatever it is that you do, and that's when you tap into the great all, the nature of things, the universe, whatever it is, right? And I think that's what all humans want to do, that sooner or later.
Well, so I think not all humans discovered that, and I think
exactly, I think
it's
a journey.
I think one of the problems with education now is that they spend so much of the teaching on the mind and intellectualism and you know, just thinking about things, that I've met a lot of people really intelligent, but everything's in the mind.
Yep.
And they almost overanalyze, they overthink, and they've almost completely shut off that kind of like soul. Because their minds become too powerful. Everything's driven by the mind. Everything's driven, like they over-intellectualize, overthink, and you know. But the thing is, the thing about the mind is that you can actually always intellectualize. You can always think, and you can always process a lot of information and whatever. But I've met people who just, I mean, and I think the part of the education system almost teaches you to overthink. And it almost like makes you think, well, this is the only way, and especially in England. I mean, you know, it's like, oh yeah.
I was just gonna say, especially in Germany, man.
Germany as well,
it seems to be the same thing.
Yeah, same developed world. It's the same thing. Germany is like, you've got to do this algebra. Like, who could do the bigger equations, whatever. In England, it's the same thing. It's like, the teachers reward you because you kind of able to process all this information, but it's almost too much emphasis on, somebody's ability to process information. Which is basically what, whatever it is, maths or,
It's an overemphasis on the intellect. We're putting intellect on a pedestal, like mind on a pedestal, and most of the ancient traditions have not done that. They all understood that mind is a very powerful and useful tool, but there's more to a human being, right? There's intuition, there's feeling, there's so many more things that are important. And I mean, when you look at people who over-intellectualize everything, they may be incredibly smart. They may be incredibly smart. I have seen very few who are actually happy. You overthink everything, and you find the hair in the soup everywhere. Because you're so smart, right? It's hard to be happy. It's hard to be in the flow. It's hard to be in the moment because you're all. And I mean, I keep coming back to the Buddha because he's just a fucking man, right? Seriously, he played this entire game to the very finish line, right?
So who is actually the Buddha? Is it the Gautama?
Yeah, the Gautama. Yeah, Siddhartha Gautama. Yeah. I mean, Buddha just means the enlightened or awakened one, right?
Okay.
But there were Buddhas before him, there were Buddhas after him, but there's one historical Buddha that we remember, which is the Gautama Buddha. Right? Okay. But he just, I think the reason why he's so interesting for modern people and Western people also is because he was highly intellectual also, and the way he explained was catering to the human mind a lot. So he explains and you understand. It's not just you not just chant and sing and go into trance and you experience divine. No, he just explained very clearly what is happening, how the mind works, and how it is powerful, and what else is also important. No?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! Sorry.
No worries. That's just life, right? Baby boy's knocking at the door. Hey. We got daddy.
He's a right handful. I probably need to do more. I mean, actually, I probably need to learn a little bit more about Buddhism. But actually, this lady who actually looked at my things, she actually said, "Oh, you're basically in my past life I was Buddhist, right? Definitely. And then even in this life, So I don't. I'm really in this life looked at much of this, but I think I actually live in that kind of zone, in that kind of way. Do you know what I mean? In many ways. Without kind of, actually even looking at it and sort of analysing it and reading about it, I think I'm already adopting it, basically,
And that is awesome. I mean, nobody has to study scripture or study text.
I was going to say so,
I think many people just embody it on their scale, like whatever is the kind of stuff that's flowing through you. And you are tapping into the very same thing through music. And that's the beauty of it, right? We can tap into the same wisdom, the same origin, the same source, the same information through different means. We just have to find out what is my means, what's my antenna. Like how do I receive signal? You receive signal through music. Right.
I think music. Definitely. I mean. I also think that I actually, even outside of music, I kind of receive signals from. Even just walking around the beach, I find it's sweet. It's like, it's like, but I need to be kind of on my own, just walking on the beach or something like that, and just being, just being at one with myself, I guess.
It does help. It does help.
Doesn't always,
Not always.
I don't always get the opportunity. That's the problem. The domestic situation is quite different nowadays. With the baby kind of knocking on the door and him waking up like sort of 5 a.m. and.
That's tough on you,
It's I barely caught a wink of sleep, and he's like, it's like there, like he's so crazy. But it is what it is. It's great. It is amazing. But having a kid is also that's another journey in itself. I mean, I haven't quite worked out what it's all about yet. I'll let you know once I've kind of
Yeah,
processed
please
that.
do.
Yeah.
Once I'm in the situation, I know what to do. Probably I'll forget all about it and be completely
I
overwhelmed.
don't know. It's almost the bizarre thing. I know this is a bit sort of left field and off topic.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I was in a delivery room
Oh, yeah.
when my wife gave birth,
Uh-huh.
and it's just, this little kind of being came out. He was all purple. I don't know why, but I think all babies come out kind of purple because I don't know. Maybe they're not used to sort of air or something. I don't know, or like the blood vessels are kind of like circulating around everywhere. So, and I just remember like him coming out. I mean, before there was only 2 people, now it's suddenly 3 people, and it was just such a life-changing experience. And I looked at my wife and I just cried. It's kind of bizarre. It was just like I just cried. I don't know why. I just did. And then like now I just look at him. I go, okay, so and I look at this baby and actually, I mean, before it was like he's so helpless. And I'm going like, and it suddenly changed your life because I looked at him, I thought, he's actually looking at me going like, I'm relying on you not to fuck up. Do you know what I mean? And suddenly like, I'm going, okay, hold on a sec. Yeah, actually you're right. So I've actually got to I've got to start being less reckless. And I've got to actually think about not just myself. I mean, I've got to think much more about the family and I've got to sort of think, differently. It's just kind of, it changes everything. Right. It's kind of bizarre.
Right.
I never thought it would, but it does.
You never thought it would?
No, I just didn't think, I just thought I was a baby, another thing, but it does change. It's just like, it's almost kind of like turns your world upside down. But it's great. It's at the same time, it's great. It's an amazing experience. Seeing somebody like this new being there, who's looking at you, and he's
fresh out of source.
He's happy as chips,
Unstained.
and everything
happy as chips.
Yeah, he's happy. A pig in shit, whatever. So he's just kind of like whatever he's doing, he's just happy. He's just kind of like messing around.
Right.
At the same time, I realised that he actually needs me not to screw up.
Right.
He doesn't tell me that.
No.
I tell myself that because I'm going like, if I do screw up, he's not going to be okay. So it just changes the dynamics a bit. Yeah. But it's great. It's great.
Responsibility.
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 Things I'm used to having responsibility. So I'm running companies and
several companies.
Oh man. Having a lot of stuff, but this is a different type of responsibility.
Right.
Very personal.
Oh, yeah. A wee one.
Yeah, so it is an amazing thing, and I encourage people to have kids. I think so, but I would say, well, I mean, I do sometimes worry. You have these countries where people have kids and they pop out, and the kids suffer a lot, because there's there isn't enough
of anything,
or even of anything, and I just feel that's a bit bad. And that's why I recently just donated like 10 boxes of milk to this charity. I just thought, I just thought, okay, I could do that. At least I can do.
Right, absolutely.
And I was thinking, well, if I could donate 10 boxes, which is like, I think it's like 400 packs of milk.
Okay.
But the problem with that is, we actually hand delivered once, my wife and myself, to this orphanage. This orphanage had about 100 kids, and
Here in Da Nang?
Yeah, in Da Nang. So we loaded up the car with eggs, rice, and eggs, whatever, milk, whatever we could. But I'm thinking, so we got these 2 big boxes of eggs, and like lots of milk and a few bags of rice and lots of oil and whatever. Basically, the whole car was full.
Right.
I'm thinking, hold on. we got maybe 2 boxes of eggs. That's like 200 eggs. And then like all this rice. I'm like, that's only 2 eggs each for the kids.
Now the mindset's
Yeah, you know, the mind's
only
going
2 eggs per
only
kid.
2 yeah,
Shit.
Yeah, that's going to last them like half a day. You know what I mean? I was thinking, actually, that's not going to be enough. I mean, after that, I kind of realized, well, actually, that although we're doing a little bit of good, it's actually almost like a drop in the ocean.
It
Do you
always,
know what I mean?
It always will be. It always will be, Jason.
It's like,
It always
I mean,
will
that's
be.
like virtually nothing. I mean, you fed like, you know, a kid for like half a day. I mean, almost like.
But you're feeding kids, and that's different from feeding no kids, right?
Yeah.
And getting started is different from like perfection, you know.
Right.
Obviously, but what is perfection? What is enough? What is enough for you? What is enough for the kids? I mean, you're doing it, and you have an inclination to do more. That's amazing. Just keep going.
Right,
Just keep going, man. Yeah, don't beat yourself up for
No,
shit.
I'm
It's
not-
just 2
yeah.
kids, 2 eggs per kid. Fuck.
Yeah, it's not enough. I'm going
It's
like.
not enough, man. No, man, you're doing something that is great.
Yeah, but
You're helping
I kind of part of me thinking, oh, you know, actually, I need to kind of scale up a bit more. I need to think more kind of.
I think your baby boy really wants to join the conversation.
yeah.
Maybe we should let him.
Yeah,
That'd
no,
be
I
fun.
don't know. I don't know about
That'd
that.
be fun.
I think he'll kind of wreak havoc. Yeah.
Wreak havoc. Oh, well,
Yeah.
at some point we'll
The
probably
moment
have
you
to
open,
kick him out again.
yeah, the moment you open the door, that's it.
Ah, shit, it's Pandora's
Yeah,
box.
Pandora's box. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I see.
Anyway, sorry, where were we? I think we just talking about.
How was some music, man? I was thinking about that.
Oh, do you want me to play a wee song?
Dude, yeah, I mean, now that we're here in your piano room, I mean,
Okay.
like that'll be an interesting shift in dynamics.
All right,
for
let's play a
podcast.
little song. What should we play?
Let's play a fucking song. I don't mind, man.
What should I play, man?
Whatever you want. Whatever
Oh, I
you
don't
want,
know.
Jason. Whatever you want.
What a glass of wine.
Oh, a glass of wine. Yeah. Just see whatever comes to your mind. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mr.
Something like
Jason
that.
Cheng, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. I need to clap, but
So
I have a phone in my hand.
which one's mine actually?
I have no idea. Why do you have...
Usually the one
That's
with more
probably
wine
mine.
in it.
That's probably mine. Yep.
Anyway, so that was
amazing.
Behaving.
Oh yeah, he's in the groove now.
This is an old song actually. This is one of my favourite songs.
Oh, bring
I
it
haven't
on.
played it in a long time. I'm just going to play the head, that'll be it.
All right.
It's called Danny Boy.
Danny boy. Here we go, Danny boy.
Okay,
That's
so-
for you, Danny boy.
Anyways, something like that. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're done, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
You keep knocking the door.
I know. He's kind of sorry about the baby. All right, just make sure it's all locked. If I can get rid of that.
You want to get your baby boy on the camera as well?
Him.
I'll bring
Oh,
him in,
you
man.
are-
I don't
right,
mind.
fucking hell. Give him 5 minutes. Okay, BB. So this is
All right.
crazy baby.
Here is the camera.
Yeah,
He's tired
he's
already,
not
yeah.
interested in the camera. He wants
Not
to.
interesting camera.
He wants to mess around.
But been
with-
knocking at the door all
He
night.
wants to. Yeah, he's been knocking on the door all night. Now you're in here. What do you want to do? He wants to leave.
Now he wants
See,
to go back.
that is the that is what how life is.
That's dad life. Dad life.
It's almost like when you're out, you want to go in. When you're in, you want to go out.
Isn't that the human experience in a nutshell?
Yeah, the outer and the inner.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
man,
so-
last glass and then we're done.
All right, okay. Yeah, Saturday night. I think we're entitled to a little glass here and there.
Man, Jason, thank you so much for this little solo.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
beautiful.
I don't know. I mean,
really
it's
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Hope it was okay. I mean, yeah.
Absolutely, fucking okay. Yeah.
Cheers,
And
cheers,
it's, cheers, man.
cheers. Yeah.
Beautiful evening, and so much different from any other podcast episode. Just like talking, and just a little-
yeah. I don't hope I'm. Yeah, just.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's just different language, I guess. Yeah.
It is a different language, exactly.
But this piano, there's one thing I want to share about pianos.
Let's go.
I know this sounds really weird, but a lot of the times when I play a piano, I can almost feel like what's been through it, what sort of music's been through it.
Like what has been played on that piano before.
Yeah. So, for instance, if I play a piano that's mainly been used for classical music,
Right.
I could tell you that because the moment I play some of these jazz chords, the piano almost like going, oh,
I don't want that.
the piano actually resists, going like, hold on,
Oh,
this feels really weird, and then so it's every piano, but it only happens with pianos, not with electric keyboards.
Wow.
Pianos actually have it almost you can,
memory.
yeah, some kind of memory, some kind of sort of. I don't know what it is, but I could usually tell, and with the piano, like what's been through it and what kind of person's playing it before, and what kind of karma it's kind of gone through that piano.
Wow.
It's really it's a funny thing. It's a weird thing. I know it's pretty out there.
Not for me, but maybe for
Yeah,
some people.
for some people,
yeah. But wow, that's
It is.
amazing.
It is weird. It is weird.
How do you feel that? I mean, is that like a sensation in your fingers or in your
No,
guts,
no,
or
no.
just an intuition, or?
Now, actually, believe it or not, it's the moment I touch the piano and I play a chord or do something. What comes back to me,
Right.
is it's almost like the piano comes back to me with, hold on a sec.
Sends a signal.
It's going like, hold on a sec. I'll give you what you want, but hold on, but it hesitates. It hesitates.
Oh, wow.
It's going like, hold on, this feels weird, and there's certain chords that just you could tell that the piano's never almost had these chords played through it. Do you know what I mean? Because some of these jazz chords are a bit unusual, and and I think classical music will be considered like, completely like, the devil's chords or whatever it is. Because there's the devil's interval is like, let's say that the what do you call it, the fifth,
the devil's interval, right.
Yeah, the C to the F sharp, whatever it is. And so some pianos, it's almost like you hear like it's always been properly played with the right harmonies, but the moment you play something weird, it goes, whoa, it just rejects. And it takes you a bit of, I mean, I can usually get around that, but just by playing it like for a bit, for a few days, it'll kind of come around and go, oh, okay, all right, I know, okay, I'm now familiar with this kind of music. But it's just kind of weird. It's like...
But it's so interesting, man. Let me tell you something. I once did something very weird from my point of view as well. I took a class or a course with a British psychic,
right?
Because I was like, oh yeah, psychic capabilities, why not? Let's train it. And he put us through a lot of weird exercises. And at the end of the day, I have to confess, I didn't pull through with it. It was a little too much hocus pocus for me personally, because I'm also a very skeptical person. Right. But one of the exercises was taking stuff like in your home or in other people's homes and like try to sense what kind of energy is in that object, right? He said like a psychic can understand from an object the story of the object.
Yeah. As long as you don't wash it.
Huh?
The moment you wash it. The moment you wash it, it'll kind of...
Yeah, he told us the same. You can cleanse the object from the energy that it has.
But don't put it under running water. That's right.
Yeah. But so what are you telling me now? Like, just put me...
But I mean, of course you can't wash a piano.
It's pretty tough, right?
Yeah. Unless there's a sort of big flood. Unless a lot of drunk people start pouring pints of beer down your piano.
A very British thing, I guess.
And actually, I tell you, even with pub pianos...
pub piano.
I mean, other than the smell of beer, you actually feel that the piano's got so much kind of shit that's been through it, and literally shit, probably, I don't know.
Right.
But most pub pianos, I mean, they're usually out of tune, but you could tell that they've had a lot of different, like, tunes. Not all of them, but some of them, like different energies gone through them.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I didn't know that this was a thing really with inanimate objects. But, I mean, there's I forgot the name of this guy, but there was this South African researcher, and he looked into all types of paranormal like activity and phenomena, but from a scientific point of view. And like he was one of the first guys to describe that plants pick up energies and have memories and can talk and have even understand emotions and that kind of things. Depends on the plant. Some plants are rather dull, like cacti.
Plants.
Plants.
Yeah.
But other plants really do understand and pick up human and animal emotions. And, and based on that work, later what came into being is a radio channel. It's called Plant FM. So they put they hook like these little electrodes up to plants.
Yeah, actually, my biology teacher was telling me they did some experiments where they hooked up this geranium and then with electrodes, and then they got another geranium and then pulled it all out of the plot and then put it in a food processor. And this other geranium just went, like all the electric signs just went bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's what this guy started to research. That when you analyze what's happening inside of a plant and you put it through an algorithm that decodes it into mathematical signals, and then that mathematical signal you can again translate into sound. That's what Plant FM is based on. Basically, they just hook up plants and they let their signals, because there's electronic currents within the plant, translate that into sound, and it makes music, right? So plants do make music. That's just happening inside of the plant. And then when like people are in the room and they're disagreeing and they're fighting one another, then the plant starts to pick it up and it becomes unharmonious. But when people are in the room, they're inspired, they love each other, they like each other, it's friendship, it's good conversation, then the plant picks it up and makes like harmonious signals. It's fucking insane, man.
Well,
that's just what I read and what I learned about, that plants are capable of that. But I didn't know that inanimate objects such as instruments.
Well, this is actually a plot. I mean, they basically, I mean, kind of like, I mean, this is mainly made of tree. I mean, it's mainly wood, I think.
You're so right. And at the end of the day, this thing is made.
But actually,
from music.
I don't get this from electric keyboards. That's something that I don't get. I mean, I'll never get it. I've never felt, oh, okay, this keyboard's like done a lot, or whatever it is. But with pianos, you can get that. I mean, that's the thing. That's the difference, I would say, between a real piano and an electric keyboard.
Right. Yeah, maybe the electric signal does something to that information. Or
I don't know. I think it's probably the wood. I don't know what it is. I mean, it must be the wood. I guess that's the only thing that's kind of was alive, kind of thing.
True. Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I was going to tell you this, but I'm not sure I should. But
go ahead.
I had somebody who died.
We all do.
Like 20 years ago, and I'm not going to say who this person was, but I was basically, he died. You know, we found him in his flat. Probably 20 days after he died.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it was, you know, somebody. Basically, neighbours discovered a smell, and somehow I was tasked with, well, just cleaning up efforts, anyways. And I wanted to find out whether there was any foul play with his death, and. Because I was like, you know, he seems pretty healthy and normal. You know, what happened to him? I was just like, you know, I wanted answers. I was going like, you know, what happened? And so I got his watch that he was wearing when he was, you know, when he was died. I mean, it's a pretty kind of awful situation, actually. And I took the watch to the psychic, and I was worried that because this guy had done a lot of shit. You know, probably I don't know what he's, you know, I don't know what he's done, and he took it to. I took it to the same psychic in London,
right?
Because I wanted answers. I wanted to know what's going on, whether, you know, he was killed by somebody. And, you know, going back to what you said, you know, the psychic just felt the watch. He said, no, there's no foul play. Nobody killed him.
There's no murder.
He just died, like natural kind of, you know, just something. And I tell you, the psychic's amazing. She basically said, oh yeah, something wrong with his torso, somewhere here. Something was wrong here, and he was, and the weird thing, she says, yeah, he was very kind of like, you know, he was very kind of philosophical, zen about it, and he knew that his time was up, and he just flipped to the other side, and he just went, and but it was just like, I was kind of like, for a while, I was like thinking, okay, what the fuck happened? You know what I mean? Anyways, I don't want to say who or what or whatever, but it was something that I had to deal with, and actually the reason why I know is because I've washed the watch a little bit, and she felt that the energy's been kind of like diluted.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. It was, I mean, it was an interesting experience.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. Intense.
It was pretty intense. It was one of the few things I didn't want to have to deal with, but I did. Mm-hmm. But 20 years later, I could look back and go, okay, well, that was something that was a bit out of the blue, out of the ordinary. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I know that death is one of these focal points in our lives, right? Whenever we encounter death, it just gives a glimpse into a world that we do not have a lot of understanding.
I think the problem with people is they fear death.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this death is actually just an inevitability. I mean, it's something that's inevitable, and we all have to.
Totally. Yeah.
We're all going to go eventually, and we just hope we go quietly.
It's a very smart thing to say. We all know.
Yeah.
But then once the doctor's like, "All right, Mr. Cheng, 2 more months." Now is when the trouble starts, right?
Not really. I don't think for me, like, I think like when my time's up, it's up. It's like you've had a lot of time to do what you need to do.
Right.
You haven't done it, mate. You fucked up. Do you know what I mean?
Come home now. Okay.
Yeah. Get with it, bro. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Game over, bro.
Yeah. Game over. And so I think I just hope that I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. I don't think. Definitely not with this sprog kind of running around.
Yeah.
Because I think if I did go, it would be very detrimental to his kind of upbringing and his kind of growth and whatever. So yeah. I don't plan to die yet anyway.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear you.
I don't want to die yet.
Right.
I mean, not for myself, but just for, people around me, I guess.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Who knows?
If it's my time to go, it's my time to go, and I've got to just embrace it, I guess. I mean, it's not about me. I'm more worried about everyone around me. That's the main concern. It's not if I go. I mean, that's simple. I mean, that's no problems.
It's no problems. Well, that is a warrior's perspective.
But do you know what I mean? It's just I worry about all the people that are kind of relying on me.
Right. Obviously. Yeah.
Right now, and I'm going like, wow, if I did go, fuck, what's going to happen to them? And that in itself just worries me to death.
Right.
But you know what? I mean, hopefully I kind of get to a situation where, all the people who are relying on me become less reliant, and they kind of, they go off on their own. So hopefully Bertie's a bit older, and doesn't need to rely on me. Maybe like business-wise, a fewer staff, or sell the business or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, I think one thing we are asked to develop in this lifetime of uncertainty and insecurity is to just develop trust, right? Develop trust that everything will work the way it's best for everyone, even though the best feels painful sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all have to do our best, and you'll do your best, and you'll do your best, and that's what you're doing right now, taking care of your family, taking care of the business, taking care of family, taking care of orphanages even. That's amazing. No, you're doing the best.
Yeah, well, I could be doing more, but yeah, I try.
We all do, Jason. We all do, Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's been a long evening. It's been a fantastic conversation.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It was
great. It's good that we got through almost 2 bottles of wine here.
Yeah, don't do that.
Cheers.
Well, that's what happens sometimes when the conversation is good. You get through a couple of bottles of wine. But yeah, I'm very grateful to have had this opportunity to talk
That's
to you.
great, yeah, it's great.
In your home place with a piano
Yeah.
and performance. It was fucking amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned your YouTube channel. I will put that into the show notes
Oh,
so people
all right,
can check
okay,
you
yeah,
out.
yeah, all right, yeah, great.
Anything else you would want to add where people would like contact you, follow you, whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, sign up.
Sign up for Hotfoots. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, we can put that into that.
Sure, yeah. That sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Jason.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Yeah. Anyways, hope it was okay. So we're gonna let me see what the baby's up to.